Hello, everybody. I'm at Parcaut here, Brian Galke, and we are Aces 53. How you doing there, Brian?
Good. So playing catch up from last week. Last week was
I
the
know you're
crazy week.
so busy. You're such a busy guy. So many.
Uh, some of it was self-inflicted. I think I told you that last week I did a mileage run. So I was at an event Sunday through Tuesday. That was to learn about different speaking styles, stuff like that. That's the day I couldn't get my AirPod to work.
Right
Then,
now, are there different speaking styles?
oh yeah, of course there are.
All right, we'll get into that after you tell us everything. Right.
Yeah. Just for some example of that one, some people use bureaus, which a bureau is like
Oh,
basic.
so okay. So
Yeah,
there are different types of way to get on stages.
correct.
So when I took a speaking style, I took it like I talk like this, and you
Oh,
talk like
no.
this.
Everybody's uniquely different about that. I've been seeing a lot of ads. I do feel like with events opening back up, I've seen more advertisements for let me teach you how to speak than I have in the last few months. You and I have talked about this. People are getting back in rooms. It's always after an election. It's not about who wins. It's just people, there's always instability and insecurity at the year of an election. And then once somebody's elected, then people are like, okay, well, now we think we have an idea. We can spend money again.
Well, yeah, but you also got to look at people are hurting
Right.
up to this point, and now they see potentially getting better.
Correct.
And so this time around, it is because of the election and who got elected that things are coming. Because and this is not political, but if things stayed the same, we pretty much would not have gotten any better.
That's true. Anytime there's a change, we'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Because then people think, okay, somebody's there, or somebody different's there than what I currently am. But I am seeing more events open up, but I'm also seeing more people who are offering courses on body language, things of that nature. But no, the event I went to was actually speakers who are charging a pretty hefty range. And a lot of them were talking about how they use bureaus and to get out there. So there's speaking agents, which is like you think of a sports agent or anything like that. And that's somebody who is actively going out and like pushing you to speak. There's speakers who do their own stuff. And then there's speakers who work with either they sign an exclusivity with a bureau, which is I only work with this one bureau that represents multiple speakers, or you can go to non-exclusive bureaus, and that's like you get listed in different places. So using analogies, it's like, hey, I've got this product. Well, I'm not only going to sell it in Target, I'm going to sell it in Walmart and everywhere else as well. So the bureaus bring people in, then they let you pick from their stable of speakers. And so it was interesting to learn that because I don't know anybody who's really done and used bureaus a lot.
Oh, really? So is it so the bureau itself isn't like you just all these people speak all the time at one place. It's
Right.
They just have a group of people to be able to choose from.
Correct. They have a portfolio of speakers. So basically,
It's almost like an agency then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it's like. But it's not, they're not acting as your individual agents. They're more like the warehouse saying, hey, we have all these speakers. When you have a corporate need, come to us and we'll let you flip through the catalog.
So it's like an agency. I'm just meaning that. So so if you have an agent, right? That agent probably has additional speakers also.
Correct.
So
but that's
they're
what's
all
different.
bureaus.
A bureau is more of they have all the information in one place. An agent is more like what you're talking about, which is somebody who's out there actually going and trying to make meetings and requests and proactively pitching you to companies. Whereas bureaus are more of a company reaches out to a bureau and say, hey, who all do you have as a speaker?
So one don't promote you at all. One promotes you, one doesn't promote you.
Exactly. Okay. Yes.
One is a warehouse and one is a retail.
Exactly. So that was interesting to learn. And then obviously,
I wouldn't want to be in a bureau.
You'd say that, but when corporations, where does everybody shop? Mom and pop or Amazon? So part of being a bureau is it's something that's earned people's trust over time with other speakers. Then it puts you into competition with other speakers. So obviously, if you can have an agent, that's somebody who's constantly pushing you, out to other people, events, organizers, things of that nature. That's the ultimate win because that's somebody proactively advertising you out. But it also doesn't hurt to be on the opposite side, which is somebody says, hey, I need a speaker in this location in this fee range, and you're listed there. Well, both of them take a percentage of what you make for getting you the gig. One is just a reactive and one is a proactive. So there's benefits to both, depending on where you are in your career and what you're wanting to do. Or you can do where just good old fashioned, sweat equity. And that is you're the one trying to find gigs, trying to move on, trying to do all that.
What's funny, the other day I was telling people about the firewalk we do, right? Because this will be our second annual, May 3rd. And I was like, it's, Tony, he worked for Tony Robbins for 22 years. And the kid was like, who's Tony Robbins?
It's an interesting challenge that everybody faces at some point. We've talked about this before. Tony Robbins sold Tony Robbins' company, but the minute that Tony Robbins isn't there, Dean Gracioso bought it from him, right? But there's going to be a point where UPW and all those things that are built around Tony will see such a dramatic drop off, even though there's other people he's been working with for years and teaching, but they'll see a drop off. And here locally, living in Dallas, Zig Ziglar had that same problem because there was not a Zig Jr. I mean, yes, he has kids, but he wasn't grooming someone to be a part of it. And that's the challenge of branding is if your branding is all about you and then suddenly you go away, what happens to the company you built?
Well, it just tells you that for some people, he has not been popular for a very long time.
Right. Especially young people.
Well, it's because he selectively went to a certain population, right? I would say a higher end population that could support him after some things happened to him.
True, but I think the amount of people who don't know who Tony Robbins is probably way less than people who know who he is, of a certain age range.
Right. I'm just saying that this kid was 27, 28.
That surprised me that
middle daughter age. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was like, who's Tony Robbins? I'm like, oh, he was a guru. It's like, okay, I guess I got to explain this to you, but it kind of defeats my purpose of telling you. Most people know who he is because they've been around.
Yes. He's had so many events all across the US, or people have heard of the firewalking. A lot of people never make it past his entry level one, which is called UPW or Unleash the Power Within. That's all I've gone to. But I have friends who invested in the whole business mastery, have gone all over. And then I know a very, very successful person who is part of his high-end mastermind where it's limited to, let's say, 20 people, and they travel all around the world and meet several times a year. So, he does have various products, and that kind of goes back to what we've been talking about before, and that is you can't sell just one thing and only have one way for money to come in. So obviously his funnel is online event, especially post-COVID, they started doing those, then in-person lower tier, in-person higher tier, then masterminds or things all over, and they come with a hefty price point at the same time. But I know people are paying well over 50 to be parts of his stuff every year.
Wow. Yeah. All right. So this different types of way to get on stages, have someone help you, Steve's like a agent.
Yes.
Right? He promotes you to ones he's doing.
Correct. He is a great referral source. That's the thing. Like I've gotten a lot of gigs just because.
Oh, he doesn't take a portion of what he refers you to.
Nope. That's one thing that I appreciate about Steve.
That's a monthly one.
Yeah. That's one thing I can say I appreciate about Steve is first, he vets you, right? Like, obviously he was my first speaking coach. Once he trusts you, he'll refer you. Right. But that's like a lot of things. I wouldn't have gotten in with Greg or Secret Knock or some of the other places. I'm looking for my notes the other day while we're talking.
Well, it's like today I was on a panel, right? So on stage as a panel. And what does that mean? That means you're up there because they want certain people in certain industries to talk. And then you go up on there and they talk about stuff. Correct. And so easy now. After so many years of doing Rotary and screwing up on other stages and stuff, and they're like, awesome job. And it's like, okay, well, I do this on a daily basis now.
I did a post about that on Monday for LinkedIn. So it was a picture of me in a black t-shirt. Imagine that. And then a guy named Trevor Crane and Steve were in the background. I said, it's not a glitch in the matrix. But I talked about getting started, how much harder it was. And the real challenge a lot of people, in my opinion, face is they're looking at where everyone is now and not where they started. And then thinking, I can't get started because I'm not near where that person is. Well, neither was that person. It doesn't matter who it is. Gary Vee, Tony Robbins, Brad Lee, Steve Sims. You can go down the list. You're seeing 5 to 25 years of background that got them to where they are today. So stop trying to do an equal comparison because you're not.
Start at local events around you first, and then get big and keep going bigger and bigger, kind of like Brian did.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Break into rooms.
Get in as many rooms as you can. First, you go and you pay your own travel and you speak for free, and then they start paying your travel and you speak for free. Then it's you better pay me to be there, but I still have to pay my travel. And then you finally get to a phase where they're paying you and paying for your travel, but it's very rare that anybody gets that instantly. So if you see any of these courses that are offering, oh, you can be a big stage speaker in X amounts, that's such a small percentage I think one study they did, I heard, was the average speaker makes $48,000 a year on speaking. So that's why you have to have additional resources and ways to make money as well.
So speaking is just one form of like a social media.
Correct.
What I mean by that is just one more thing to be at to promote you for what you're selling and what you're trying to get across. It's like writing a book. You write the book to promote you about what you do and sell more stuff of what you do. It's not, and we get the knowledge out there, of course. That's one thing.
That's the important part.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's getting that out there. It's like a business card these days. And so is speaking. Speaking on stages just gives you become the authority in your industry of what you're talking about.
I'm hitting up our friend ChatGPT and just looking to see. So yeah, beginners, here's what it broke it down to. Beginners for 0 to 2 years, average 0 to 50,000 with it says many of the free gigs at first. Year 3 to 7, they make 50 to 150,000. Past year 7, 150 to over 500,000, and then celebrities and others make 500,000 to 5 million a year. So it breaks it down to an interesting one. So it said if you were looking at per talks, how they get, most new speakers are free to 250 or 2,500. Mid-level are 2,500 to 10,000. Well-known are 10,000 to 50,000 per talk. And then celebrities make more. And I was actually looking last night. I was just a bureau that I was interested in. I looked at their website and just who lives in Texas. And it was all kinds of ranges of, I make, 7,500 to 200,000 just to get in for a keynote talk. It's crazy, the range that's out there. And a lot of athletes get paid very well because we've seen them on TV. They've accomplished something that put them ahead of others. So there's a lot of former NFL, former, Major League Baseball, former Olympics ones, and they command a pretty hefty fee. I was surprised.
Right, and that's why they're like the major person at the events. Like we went to some of these, and you'd have Michael Jordan or whoever the big wig is there, plus everybody else that's been on stage in the industry, in the stuff you want to learn and understand. Those people are like, this is what I'm doing now, blah, blah, blah. That's great. I'd rather listen to somebody with trying to help me build my business somehow than that person. Not that I have a problem with that person. I'm just saying that's just how it is.
It's just different. Different speakers for different people. A lot of people have always grew up of dreams of being an athlete in some form or fashion. And so they love listening to athletes. Right. And then some people, I will only go to, we'll say I'll only go to business conferences because I want to learn from business people. It is interesting. The way I look at it is it's like picking up a book. Is there some takeaway I can get from that particular speaker that can enhance my life? Great. But there's some speakers that doesn't happen.
Right. So speaking is just like podcasting and radio. What I mean by that is when you get on radio, people don't realize you pay for your hour. You're paying for that hour. And then eventually you get to a point where you're paying a lot less for that hour.
Yes.
And then you get to a point where you have sponsors paying for your hour. And then you just have time where people are paying you. Like we just got approached to go to get syndicated.
Nice.
Yeah. So, the question is, do we want to do that?
Yeah.
If I had an ego, I would say, yes, I want to now say I am a syndicated radio show host.
Yeah.
Versus a radio show host. But then I could use that word syndicate. So I've heard some people like, she's a syndicated radio show host. So what? That doesn't mean anything. Did they approach her to pay her all the way, or how did they do it? So I had somebody approach. So we talked a long time ago. There was one company who approached us to do it through the internet radio. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. And then this guy is actually, we're probably going to do this one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So it just builds it in other markets, and that's it. The guy was like, do you want to, you're helping the brave? Do you want to do that on the radio? I'm like, okay, not right now, but I'd have to expand it to an hour and, other stuff. He goes, I've done some half hour. No, that's okay. And it's really 50. So basically with I know we're on speaking, but this is a great way to build your voice and your confidence by doing this stuff before you get on stages.
Hey, hold on one second.
Are you getting a question?
No, someone came in. Sorry. All right. Give me 1 second. Sorry, somebody's asking me something. I thought I had it all blocked.
Well, tell them you're busy. Tell them.
That's what I'm doing.
Make up a question.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay.
No, somebody said they're trying to text me and it wasn't going through.
Yeah, because you have do not disturb.
Right. But they were sending me on something else. Anyway, they were saying they tried to send me an email, and then do not disturb doesn't affect that one.
No, it doesn't. That just means they had your name wrong.
Right. Anyway,
It's like someone's like, I've sent you an email. I go, I didn't receive it. I just sent it again. I said, okay, can you check the spelling of my last name? Because usually people put the A and the U in the wrong place or an extra A in there. And then next thing, all of a sudden I get my email.
Well, mine's easy. It's just nobody can hear me. Or maybe nobody can say my name the right way.
Galke.
So, yeah. Easy to spell, hard to say, apparently.
No, it's actually both. Because not everybody knows how to spell Galke.
But that's true. Well, and most people know me through Steve or somebody else.
Galk.
So
Galk. Yeah. I got Qasim approached me through Podmatch to be on my podcast. I'm like, whoever's doing this for him doesn't know we did a podcast 2 years ago that we couldn't promote.
Well, it's funny. I got hit up by somebody at a company. They're like, "Hey, have you ever thought about using this?" I mean, I said I already have a course on that. Oh, okay.
Oh no, it's like, so I had Qasim on a long time ago. We were talking about, this is before it all came out, about how social media was doing all this. I said, and I asked him about Google and everything, and he goes, I could see how it could be controlled and blah blah blah. We went through this whole thing, and when we put it up to be edited, and they normally do a little response, and I put the page up, and they're like, I would not post any of this on anywhere because somebody might search it and try to cancel you guys.
That's unfortunately right now the cancel culture is gone, but you always have to think long term. Like,
it was not this was back then.
I know, but I'm saying even now today, where a lot of people are going, it's lax and we don't have to worry about it anymore. Look at what happened to Kevin Hart. He was supposed to, host something, and then from a joke he told like 12 years earlier, people were upset about it. That's the problem with what you have to think about long term with social media, YouTube, you name it. Now, apparently not Facebook Lives. You don't have to worry for 30 days.
That's right.
But anything else,
what are you gonna do about Facebook Lives? You take a part of it and just repost it on there.
Exactly.
Or
you just download them. So,
or you have them everywhere else.
I was gonna say, if they're like us and they use StreamYard, then you can record it to StreamYard, and then yes, you push it to Facebook, but you'll still have your recordings here.
You also have it on YouTube.
Yeah.
If you put it on, the only problem about YouTube is they don't promote it either. So what's the difference? So Facebook has it there, doesn't promote it. YouTube has it there, doesn't promote it. Now Facebook's dropping it off. You still have it YouTube. You still need to cut it up into a couple 3-minute, 5-minute things plus 3 shorts, and then post that. That's what you should post.
That's speaking of, so this came up at the conference we're at last week with Business Combat as well. There's a guy named Master Ken. Have you seen those videos yet? You
talked about it a while back.
Okay, yeah, where he's got the mustache, and people think it's funny because this is how people get about social media, and that is, it's supposed to be satire. It's not real, and people don't realize that, and they're like, "This guy's going to get someone killed." And so we're talking about the hate and everything you get, but we were talking about, this is important for everybody here who does social media. Now that all platforms allow up to 3 minutes, you need to be doing over 2 minutes worth of videos. So yes, 6 months ago, a year ago, it was 60 seconds. Why? Because you were going to the smallest restriction you had, which was YouTube. But now that YouTube has opened up to 3 minutes,
they've opened TikTok's up to 3 minutes now.
Yep, up to 3 minutes as of like a month ago or two. And then now the guy was saying if you do less than 61 seconds on TikTok, you can't monetize it. Now, I don't know. I've not set up monetization on TikTok. I need to actually go do that. But that's what he was talking about, is before the original restriction was 60 seconds, keep it there, nothing over that. And now all the platforms have opened up to 3 minutes, and it'll still be considered a short, which is what they're all pushing right now.
I don't think people don't watch that long unless it's something amazing up front.
Yeah, I got you. Now, I do think LinkedIn is still trying to figure out where they're at, because when you first went to go write a post about 2 or 3 months ago, they had a separate icon for videos versus pictures. So you knew, hey, I'm going to upload a video. Now they've gone back to just the picture icon, which you can upload a picture or a video. Right. But that was another thing that they talked about is, too many people are fascinated with the numbers on Instagram, but they really, the businesses and decision makers are on LinkedIn.
Right.
I don't know why I keep burping to you.
That's why you should be posting your stuff, a bunch of your stuff, like a newsletter on LinkedIn on a daily basis.
Correct.
Not a video.
Right.
But just a written post. I talked to a bunch of people and how they built up their business on LinkedIn by
Yep.
doing a actual post a day.
Well, and that's what
Not a video or not a picture post, but an actual something about something.
yes, that's what I was going to say is they said the one thing that's interesting is most of the other platforms are favoring one type, but when the MCs who's done really well with his business on LinkedIn was he goes in, he does a post, he does a newsletter, he does a video, and he's constantly rotating. And then like Instagram, if you're not like, I'll put a post on Instagram and it'll get like 54 likes because people are scrolling for video now more often than they are for posts. Like, let me see if I go look and do the comparison.
I don't think it matters.
Yeah,
We're
I'm
just
just
talking.
curious
I
what
know, but the thing is, are you to business or are you to people?
right. And
B2B
that's
or
where
B2C? You're B2C and B2B for on LinkedIn. So you're trying to get picked up by a corporation to do their talk, but you also want people to buy your courses and your books and
correct.
everything else. So
Correct.
it's again, you have to know who your client is that you're talking to at that time and be where they are, wherever that's at.
And go find them. That's the advantage of LinkedIn. Yes, you can scale ads to a degree on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, but LinkedIn is one of the only ones that you can actually say, I am looking for this person with this type of role at this company, and you can find it. Now, with that being said, I have not bought Sales Navigator, for the monthly fee, but people were raving about that at one of the events also.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Because if you don't pay for it, then you can only send 5 notes along with a connection request. And after 5 messages, you're tied down. Now, once somebody accepts your connection, you can talk with them all you want. And then the different levels, I think, are 15 if you buy whatever. And then if you buy the higher one, the Sales Navigator, it's like 150 a month. Then you can message more people. So it's just you're paying for greater access to people and to be able to see like who looked at your profile, what's their job, what do they do, so you can reverse stalk people also.
Is that different than premium?
So there's yes, it's one higher than premium. I'm just looking it up while we're chatting here.
I'm just so people understand what we're talking about.
Right.
Because with premium, you can find out who's
looked at yours. Yeah. So I'm opening it up. Let me see. So I asked somebody because there's different options. So there's a sales version, and then there's let me see. Do they have the different ones here? So it's got a free 1-month trial, cancel any time. They're going to make me ask a bunch of questions. Make it easier for people to contact me. Unlimited search.
To search it for you next time.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Okay, let's see. All right, here we go. Okay, so there's business, and then there is Sales Navigator. So if you do business, it's $50 a month, and that one you get 15 mail messages credits per month for people you don't know. Then if you go with Sales Navigator, you get 50 credits per month. So outreach of people you're not connected with. And then they all come with AI powered messages, drafts, enhance your profile, stuff like that.
Well, there's also a company called VA Now, or I forget something VA Now. I'll get the information. You pay them and they have somebody who takes care of this for you.
Ah, nice.
Yeah. And what it is, it's a software you pay so much per month, but it includes an actual VA to do this for you. So they're reaching out to them.
Ah, very cool.
Yeah, it's a unique idea. I just had no need for it for what I was doing at the time.
Yeah.
But there is that out there for you. And then they also could sell it affiliate.
I see. That's what the real mission was.
No.
But yeah, so back to what we're talking about. Then, so I went to a 2 or 3 day, and this one's important.
Okay.
I paid money to go to something, and it wasn't just to learn from the speaker. So I was practicing what we preach and talk about all the time. And that is, I was making connections with other speakers in the room. And why? Number one, I want to know how are they doing it? What's it doing? That type of nature. But also in the speaking business, particularly, once you do a gig, you're unemployed again.
Right.
However, referrals go a long way. So you want to be building relationships, just like in any other business. You'll get more business from referrals and relationships than you will cold calling, cold email, whatever, cold outreach. So that's why we talk about all the time. We practice what we preach. Ed and I met at an event. We were the attendees. When I go to events, I'm going to network with people in the room, not just see who's on stage that I don't get access to.
And the other thing, when you just talk about when you're on stage, then you become unemployed, and some places won't have you back.
Right.
It's a one-time thing for them. They don't want to have the same person over and over again.
Exactly.
They want to have fresh people each time, unless you can expand your talk.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and there's some people just all they talk about is branding. Well,
Yeah.
you know, everybody knows how branding started, right?
Yeah.
It's about your cow.
Uh-huh.
Right?
So that if they got into another pasture,
Right.
you
They
could
knew who it
identify which one's
was.
yours.
Yeah, yeah,
I
exactly.
watched Yellowstone. They even brand people.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm just saying people don't understand how it all went back to that. And, you know, people like, it's a new idea. No, it's not. It's just, we don't do it.
Well, the funny thing is, we're taught not to do it, right? If you really look at it, and that was in the post I did on Monday also, we
I
went
didn't
to
read your
school.
post, by the way, so I have no
That's
idea.
fine. That's why I'm just educating you. It was about that. When school was developed in the industrial age, and it was meant to create factory workers. You weren't meant to stand out. You were meant to show up, work hard, and you might get promoted. Now we live in the day and age, if you aren't doing branding and you're not doing self-promotion, you will be left behind. And that's what you and I have been preaching for the last 2 years.
Right. Yeah. And it does work.
Mhm.
You just have to do it. And in this day and age where most people are going to potentially start their own business, you need to understand what they're doing. Why we're talking about this, because why do you want to work for somebody else unless you're a nurse or a doctor or that kind of stuff? That makes sense. There's no malpractice that way. Yeah, it just depends on what you're trying to do in life and where you want to go.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
Well, there was a study last night. I was on a different mastermind. And we were talking about that. And somebody brought up, let me see if I still have the article up. I may not. It was a strikingly high amount of kids are coming out of college and not wanting to go work for a company. And they're trying the entrepreneurial route because they don't believe in a lot of the corporate attitudes, beliefs, and things of that nature anymore.
Until they build one of their own.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can see that because people want a purpose.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that happens when you get out of the military. You lose your purpose until you find what you're trying to do and get your purpose back. And with everything I'm doing now, with this benefit company and everything, it's amazing how many people are behind what we're doing and want to get involved and do more. And then how it all just works. You know what I mean? Once you figure out who your perfect client is, or your young kid's avatar, whatever you want to call it, changes everything. You have to know who that is, and you have to get it all the way down as possible so you know who that person is. Because I had somebody call me the other day, and they were like, "Hey, Ed, I have a client. I want to send them to you." Oh, that's right. You're only doing VA loans now. I go, that's not what I said. I said 80% of the things I do is for VA. 10% is for reverse mortgage and 10% for business owners, but I'm only marketing to those people. It doesn't mean I'm not going to take a referral that someone sends me or I have a veteran whose mom is not in the business and wants to do a loan. I'm going to say, no, we don't do that. Are you freaking crazy?
Exactly.
We market to the people that we're trying to connect with. That's who you're due. You still get other business from that. Because if you market to everybody, you're going to get a lot less.
Well, that was probably the hardest thing to getting into being an entrepreneur is we're taught the old, throw enough spaghetti against the wall. It's all about, the more people you call, but it's more in reality, when you own a business and when you have a service, it's about the right people versus the mass people. Now, if you own a car dealership, something like that, where people are walking into your lot, yes, the more people that come in, the more people can buy. There are certain industries where it is a quantity number, not a quality number. But if you own a business, it tends to be more about quality of lead than quantity of lead.
I was going to say you're wrong. It's always about quality, not quantity. Always about quality. Because you don't want the wrong people walking on your lot who can't afford the car, can't buy it at all. Yeah.
Yes.
So you want a quality lead, but I will go back
to they can't qualify who's going to walk onto their lot. So for them, it is about
can
quality.
if you market to the right person and because you need to market to the right person. It's like when I used to do direct mail and my goal was to get the best quality lead because I could send anything out and get a ton of phone calls, but it's a waste of time. I needed to get to the right people, and you can narrow it down to where you can get right to the right people by knowing who they are and everything. And that's the same thing you can do with your marketing. And luckily these days, because of how marketing is and how we can get so low on who they are, not on Facebook because of, some of the new rules, but you can. It can get so much better. Anyway.
Yeah.
I
Well,
disagree, sir. Just
that's
like you
okay.
did
We
to
don't
me
have
the
to
other
agree.
day. The other day, you're like, I disagree with you. Well, good
Yep,
for you.
exactly. Like I said, I think it depends on the industry you're in. Obviously, restaurant, the more people that come in,
Of
good.
course, because
Car,
as long as they got money, they can buy. You get
exactly.
$10, you can buy something in the restaurant.
But
And it's
that
that
is,
whole thing. Go ahead.
yeah, that's the big mistake we're taught is, well, you just go out and get as many customers as you can. No, quality is far superior to quantity in a lot of things when it comes to a smaller business, for sure.
Well, here's the difference. You can go, I want to talk to so many people and learn what I'm trying to sell and get my pitch down properly.
Yes.
That's when you want to do quantity to
Hmm.
get good at what you do. It's just like everybody asks me, why did I do so many lives? And why have you niched it down? It's because I wanted to get really good at talking and not caring about what I said or if I said something wrong and worrying about that. It's about getting comfortable behind the camera. I forget it's there sometimes.
Yeah, there's a good book by Jen Gottlieb called Be Seen. And one of the ways that she's famous is she goes live every day and it's called Get Ready With Me. And while she's putting on her makeup, she's got little cameras over here and she just looks and answers questions. And she also, what's she doing? When she's reading people's questions, she turns it into content later. So
Right.
she's using her time that she's going to just sit doing her makeup anyway. And I think it's multiple years that she's been doing it. That's what made her an in-demand speaker. It's just like you said, get live. People want to know who you really truly are, not what prediction, version of you put out there. And we've talked about this because we both went through the same stuff with Steve and Henry and everybody. And that is, you have to be who you are consistently across multiple platforms. You can't pretend to be somebody on Instagram and be somebody different on LinkedIn. When you do that, people see as one of those two as a lie. So I can't trust you as a person.
I'm the same grumpy vet across all channels.
At least you know you're grumpy.
No, because my daughter-in-law was like, everybody's like, he seems so, and she's like, he's not.
That's just Ed.
That's just who he is.
That's right.
Deal with it. You gonna take us out? We done?
Sure. Yeah. I think just to recap, getting in the rooms, if you're not networking with people and expanding your network, you're limiting what you can do. And it's not necessarily about, you don't have to fly like you and I do to go to different events. Find something local that's in your area, that's something you can learn from, and more importantly, other people that you can get around, because the same problems happen across different industries, just for different ways. So every industry has a problem getting new clients. Every industry has a problem with retention. Every industry has a problem with collecting on bills. So just because it's not your niche type of event or conference doesn't mean you can't learn skills at that event, so you don't have to get on a plane or go pay for a hotel room. See what's coming to your town. What can you attend? And we've talked about this before. Some people believe you have to buy the VIP every time to be up front and center. Some I'll do that for, and some I buy the cheapest ticket just to get my butt in the room to meet other people.
And here's another way to get good as a speaker. Seroptimists, Rotaries, Lions, all them need us. They need somebody to speak at every one of their meetings.
Yep.
Now you can't sell them anything, or the person who brought them will get into trouble.
Right.
Because I'm going to let you know. So, but it's a good way to get your whatever you're trying to talk about could be, depending on what that is. Like you could do a ton of stuff to get started. You could have been to a ton of Rotaries, because a lot of towns have not just one Rotary, they have like 4 or 5 Rotaries. Same with Lions, same with Seroptimists, all those different groups that they have, Elks. There's so many of these service groups that are always looking for speakers, and it's a great way to get your name out there in front of companies, because usually at every one of these meetings, 85% of the audience own a company.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and they'll need to come in and talk. Huh?
Yeah. I spoke at one group in Fort Worth. They called me. Their speaker backed out. It was very low pay, very, very low pay. But I'm like, it's a 45-minute drive. I'll do it. Going to that one gig has gotten me 4 other gigs, and not just locally, like in other states as well, because it is a network and they refer people. And they went to a conference like, oh, this guy Brian's amazing. You need to hire him. So I got flown to Florida to speak, and that was at a higher rate. So just get out there. Like you said, get your reps in, get exposure. That's what people are missing is, yes, sometimes you speak for free, but if you get a copy of the recording and you can turn that into social media, then you're not having to create content. Like if you look at a lot of what I post is previous talks in Opus clips that I can put back out there and share with audiences. So
and get pictures of you up behind the podium talking.
exactly.
That way you can put on your speaker page.
Mhm.
Just like today, I was at that panel. I was up there, and my wife's like, "I hope somebody got your picture." Of course they didn't, because these are older appraisers, and they all had nothing. You know what I mean? But I promoted. Everybody was asking about our radio show and everything else we do because of the knowledge we put out there, and the fact that we knew stuff. Like I had my co-host who knew stuff locally, but I knew stuff all the way down to San Diego and everything that we deal with, and because that was some of the questions about LA and other stuff. And you just have to be knowledgeable, but that knowledge is what people want. The stuff that's the most easy for most people, for you, is what they need. That basic knowledge is what they're looking for.
Yep, exactly. So, all right. Well, once again, everyone, thank you for joining Ed and I today. So we are Aces 53. The best way to support us, share it with a friend, like it, subscribe. We usually put these out. We're on Instagram, LinkedIn, you name it. Share it with a friend of yours. And Tuesdays, just Ed and I talking back and forth like today. And on Thursdays, we try and bring in a joker. And what is a joker? It's somebody with a special skill or talent that we want to learn from, and we hope you want to learn from as well. With that being said, we're always open to new jokers. So if you have a special skill or talent that you feel like you want to share with other people, reach out to Ed and I, and we'll see what we can do. So thank you for joining us here today, Ed. Thank you for being here.
I'm just glad I joined. I was able to show up today.
That's right. I don't know what I was thinking.
That's okay. You're tired from the weekend.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
All right.
Have
thanks,
a good
everybody.
day.